Okay, so we begin.
Okay.
So,
I have a private lesson.
great, private. So we are in parshat Behar,
Yeah.
and let me just go through generally what's in parshat Behar. We have some very important mitzvot that apply to the land of Israel. The first one is Shemitah, which just like the seventh day of the week is Shabbat. So every seventh year is the Shabbat for the land, where the land gets to rest. That means that for 6 years, the farmers can work on their land, they can sow their seeds, and things can grow, and they prune, and they harvest, and they do whatever it takes to make everything grow. And they can sell it, and they can make money.
6 years they can do it?
They do it throughout the 6 years.
Throughout
During 6 years, you do whatever you have to do to make the land grow better, to make the fruits and the vegetables, and you can sell it and make money. Everything's fine. But then comes the seventh year. And the seventh year is called Shemitah, and the land has to rest. So you cannot, so you cannot plant, you cannot harvest, and anything that grows is free for everybody and anyone who wants to. It's like not your land anymore. It's yours just like it is anybody else's. No. No, you don't do anything. There's no planting, no harvesting. Everything else grows, and Hashem gives a blessing that it's not only will it be enough for the seventh year, but it'll be enough for when the new crop grows in the middle of the eighth year. So this is the one mitzvah that it speaks about. And then there's another mitzvah. First of all, you have to have a lot of emunah. You have to have a lot of belief in Hashem that He's going to help you, and you'll have enough to eat. And there were many situations, many people who proved it, that they, anything can happen to your crop.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you don't keep the mitzvahs and you don't have the blessing, you have no guarantee that you're going to have what to eat. And here you put your trust in Hashem, and you know that Hashem will, if this is what He's telling you to do, He'll make sure that you'll have enough to eat. Now, after this, there's 7 cycles of Shemitah, which means every 7th year is the land rests. It's a sabbatical. So the land rests, and a person has time to learn. He could go study. He doesn't, At that time, most people had fields, so this is what they did. It's not that they opened the store, like they all worked. They were all farmers today as well. 100%.
Religious kibbutzim.
All the kibbutzim that it says hefker, like it's free for all. So anyone could come and anyone could take, just like the owner could come and take for himself, for his family, for his kids, and he cannot sell it. You cannot sell it. Anyone could come and take it.
Okay.
So they sometimes they give it over to a bet din, where they allow you to sell, but you don't weigh it or something, or there's like different laws as far as the Shemitah is concerned. But in general, even in Chutz La'aretz, it doesn't. It's only a mitzvah in Israel. So in Israel, like people who have plants in their house also don't. There's like certain ways they can water or certain ways of growing. You don't, even in my garden, eilat is different, but in the garden in the north or in Israel. Okay, so.
You're probably the only garden in Israel that's kosher?
Well, so after the 7 cycles of Shemitah, which means 7 times 7 is 49.
Yeah.
So the 49th year is Shemitah. Then the following year is the 50th. The 50th year is called the Jubilee year. That's a Yovel. And that is also a sabbatical. So here we have 2 consecutive years. It's more than 2 years, because for 2 years you're not planting. And you also have to free the servants. And all property returns to its original owner. In other words, you're not allowed to sell land in Israel. You can lease it. It's more like leasing, because you make a cheshbon, like how much crop will you have this year, and so for each year you're paying for the crop that the land gives. And the Jubilee year, the land goes back to its owner, whether you like it or not. So if anybody buys a plot of land, he knows they'll only keep it till the 50th year. So you have to take that into account when you're paying. Make sure you're not overpaying, and a person has to, see, like it has to be at least 2 years till the Jubilee year. So you could buy like 25 years. You're leasing it. You're actually leasing the land, basically. That's what it's saying.
And every seventh year, the seventh year you pay
Sev-
for also?
No, the seventh year,
You pay for that land? The
you don't,
seventh year?
if you bought it,
Yeah,
yeah,
you have to buy it.
you buy it, and
So you're paying for all those 7 years?
yeah, but you're eating from it, you're gaining from it, you're not losing out. And you get a blessing, it's like a lot of,
Also, the owner himself can use
anyone
some
can,
in the seventh year?
anyone
Oh,
can,
anyone.
anyone, it's free for all.
Okay.
So the Torah tells us you shouldn't worry that you won't have enough to eat during the Shemitah and the following year because you can't plant the harvest the next year, because Hashem promises that the sixth year will produce enough food for 3 years, because it's the sixth year will produce for the seventh, for the eighth, which is the Jubilee, and then when after the seventh year you're planting, it's going to take time till it grows. So it's like actually for 3 years. The sixth year will provide enough. That's what Hashem gives.
And this is His blessing, His like promise to Israel?
Yes. That if you keep my laws, I will bless you, definitely. And then that was another law. Now there's another thing that we learn in this parsha, that you're not allowed to charge interest. So that if you lend somebody money, you're not allowed to take it back with extra. In other words, the loan has to be free. The person can pay you back what he lent from you, but you're not allowed to charge interest.
I think they do something though.
Only in the banks. The banks.
No, even amongst the religious, they do something. Or samud ledola, or samud le sterling. Have you heard about these?
Oh, you mean that if the dollar goes up, but you're paying back the same of what you took, you're keeping the value of the ship. Okay.
So that's okay. They're doing that.
Yeah, okay. So in other words, you're not getting back less, you're getting back the same worth.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's about okay. Now, the portion begins with the word Behar. Behar means a mountain, on the mountain.
Oh.
So God spoke to Moshe on Mount Sinai. So why does it just say Behar? Why doesn't it, we know the name of the parsha tells us what the context will be, or what the content of the parsha will be. So the mount, the Hebrew word for mount, Behar, should have said like Mount Sinai, should have said Behar Sinai maybe. Right, so what does a mountain symbolize? A mountain is like lofty, height, it's like in a spiritual sense, it's like an expansion. It's like a person is acting in an expansive manner, like he's large. You know what I mean? Like feels like he's lofty and high.
Like showing off. You mean?
It could be.
Way,
it could be negative. It could be positive. Everything could be negative, and everything could be positive. So now, on the other hand, the word Sinai comes from the word sneh. The word sneh is like a thorn bush. So that shows humility, self-nullification. That means like a person, it's like, who am I? I'm nothing. So he puts himself down. Behar means you know your value, you know your worth. And Sinai is like sneh, it's like a humility. So when we talk about the service of a person to God, there are 3 levels. There's the level of humility, which is Sinai. Self-nullification. A person has to say, I don't have my own agenda. I do what Hashem wants. Like, puts himself aside. He's not, I'm not the center of everything. I'm here to serve God. Then there's the second level, which is Mount Sinai, which is a combination of humility and it's a combination of expansiveness and humility, which means that you are proud of being Jewish, which you hold your head high. We're Jewish, hooray! And yet you
have to be
humble. Yeah. The level of Behar, this is the final level where a person aspires to. In other words, you to reach a level of Behar, which means that let's see if we can understand what this means. Um, Imagine, consider a person who is an agent. Okay, you're acting as an agent for someone else. You're an emissary. You're a messenger. Okay, or a person who's a servant. Okay, let's take these two people. One is a messenger, one is a servant. So the emissary, it says, the shaliach is like the mishaleach. A shaliach is he is the emissary of this person, and he's just like him. Like here, I'm coming in the name of the king. Okay, and a servant is different, because a servant is devoted to. Okay, so you see, there's a difference between an emissary and a servant. A servant is totally subservient to his master. So the Gemara says that emissary is like the person himself, and there are three ways in which a person can act as an agent. One is the person empowers and authorizes his agent to act in his you have the right, you can sign, I'm giving you yipui koach, like you are instead of me, you are my emissary, and I give you the power to do whatever it is, to make decisions even, and you have the right to do whatever, I'm giving you over the power. Now, even though the action is done by the person himself, he's doing it through this, like through an emissary. So it's really him, but he's doing it through an emissary. Now, not only are the actions, am I accountable for the actions of my emissary? Like, I have to trust him, and I'm actually responsible for it. It's considered as if I did it. So, in other words, the emissary and the agent, they become connected as one when the mission is fulfilled. You are acting on my part, and it's actually me doing it. So if you do it, if you do something wrong, so it's my fault. I take credit. Yeah. So you understand that. These are the. That's the difference between an emissary and a servant, because the servant remains the servant. So he says like this. That with a servant, he's not an entity of himself. His whole being is that of his master, and that's why whatever is acquired by the servant is acquired by his master. You are mine. Okay? So all the things that I explained apply to the levels of Sinai, Mount Sinai, and Behar. So when a person begins his spiritual service, he exists as an entity unto himself. In other words, he has to act with humility and self-nullification. That's the first step, Sinai. A person, before he goes to pray, he first will give charity. He'll think about, he'll put himself like, I'm here. He might even learn, study something, in other words, to get ready. I'm going to stand before the king. So his self-nullification, that's Sinai. So there's no room for gava, no room for that, for a person's own ego.
That do these things today? Are there really such spiritual?
Well, I'll tell you what. When you definitely can, you can definitely strive. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But there are some better days than others, right?
Yeah.
But if you have it in mind, so it makes a difference. You know how you should be, so you think about it. Eventually, it works. So in other words, you put your ego aside, okay? and you are in God's hands. Now, the second level of Sinai is like the emissary, like we said, that the second level. So it's like the first kind of messenger, we said, that he acts on behalf of the person who sent him. I'm your emissary. I will do what you want. The higher level of service is that of Mount Sinai, that's Har Sinai. And at this stage, a person feels like, wow, like he feels like a mountain. He feels expansive, he feels high. And why? Because he reached a level, a spiritual development that that he can only express holiness. In other words, it doesn't affect him. His expansiveness of feeling high is because he's connected with God, because he and God are the same. So here we must say that a person has to first have self-nullification, and if he has self-nullification, then the holiness can permeate him. He becomes like a vessel for holiness. He can become Hashem's emissary. We are like a pipeline, like through me, what Hashem wants will happen. Or take a look at the emissaries that the Rebbe sent. So the Rebbe sent emissaries all over the world. And you want to know something? This is it. An emissary goes through hard times. They don't all have a source of income, and yet they're turning over the world. They're doing why? Because they're doing what the Rebbe wants. So they say, I'm in the Rebbe's hands, and the Rebbe gives this blessing, and everywhere, they say, oh, chabad. It's like you're seeing the Rebbe, shlucho shel adam kimoto, the person, the emissary is just like his.
You see this daily with all of, yes.
That's right. So the emissary is the agent, gives over his power of action and his very being. He's giving it over to us. This is what the Rebbe did. He empowered us, and he made us his emissary. And there's still a difference between the emissary and the person who sent him. But the highest level of service is that the person is so entirely negated to godliness that you don't even have to remind him about Sinai, because there's nothing for him other than God. And that's what it says about the Avot, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. It says they were like Merkava. What's a Merkava? It's like the wagon following the horses. Wherever the horses go, the wagon has to follow. It has no will of its own. Or a car. I mean, the driver is driving you. The car has absolutely no say. Wherever the driver wants to take the car, that's where he's going to take it. This is the level where you reach, where you are just the Merkava, you are just the wagon following. God is leading you. Whatever he tells you to do, that's what you're doing. So this is something that we learn. Now I want to talk a little bit about Lag BaOmer, because we are.
Just imagine that kind of people. This must be that they live on another planet as such,
I'll tell you what, the more you learn.
Cut away from everything.
It's not true.
Like cooking, cleaning, shopping, gossiping, everything.
While you're cooking.
Cut away from all that.
Why you cut away? You're cooking. What did the Kohanim do in the Holy Temple? They cooked and they made pots of food and meat and they cleaned up and they washed the floors. They did everything. That's what they did in the Holy Temple, because people brought the sacrifices and then they had to eat. But the difference is that you eat for what?
It's on another level.
It's a different level. It's like you're eating, so you have the strength so that you can pray and you can do God's will. You realize that this whole world is worthless. It's just a vessel to bring godliness into the world. And so you realize what's important and what's not. And then you reach a level where, like, you can't just waste time. You have a reason. You want to bring Mashiach, and if you want Mashiach to come, you got to do something for it. So how am I just going to sit and waste time? I got to do something. So there's another Jew who didn't put on tefillin, and there's another woman who didn't light candles. So let's go. There are women who speak English and have not learned the parsha. So let's make an English class in English. That's where it stems from.
For me, it's like, even if I did something for a few weeks, I was a good girl and I did this and I did that. And I say, now enough, now take it easy, I can't go forward, It's just, how do other people do it? It's like, the life is devoted to something.
Okay, listen, I want to
I don't trust
tell you.
in God. I don't know what.
No, I'll tell you, it comes from the will. Where there's a will, there's a way. Like, let's take a person who wants to lose weight, okay? And he can't stop eating. He says, how are you doing it? How are you managing? You're not eating all this, here's the ice cream and all this, these calories, and you're not eating it. It's not even tempting you. So some people are on the level where if it's going to be in front of me, I'll be tempted. So please don't put it in front of me.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you feel so good. Wow, I accomplished it. And then it comes to a point where you don't even want it. So now you can put it in front of me and it's not going to affect me. That's the difference. That's the different level. So first we start off with put it away. That's the nullification, I'm not gonna go there. I'll make you make a fence so that, or you cover over the hole in the, you don't want to fall. You put a fence up on the roof so someone shouldn't fall off the roof and hurt himself. Say, not from my roof. So this is the beginning, and then a person. It's like when you stop eating sugar. People like sweet tooth. After you stop eating sugar for a while, you don't even want it. Don't even want it. I could see I wouldn't put it in my mouth. No. So I think there's that